Welcome back to another episode of Ways. My name is Mohammed. I'm here with Osama. Osama, how are you doing today?
I'm good, ladies and gentlemen. I feel amazing, even though I got my vaccine. And it's funny because this is the second test run. So, for the people who don't know how long it takes us to get the perfect podcast for you guys, well, we're ready. We're ready to kill it. And I know Mohammed brought one of his beautiful friends, amazing guest today. And I'll let this guy introduce him.
Before that, make sure to follow us at Ways 2.0 on Instagram. You can follow Osama at Kusa300, myself at Muhammad.global. New episodes every Wednesday. If you want to listen to us, we're available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Anchor, and other various platforms. Thank you so much for the love, support, and feedback. We don't take it for granted. We have a beautiful guest on today. It's pretty funny because most of the time, obviously, we're interviewing our guest. But for today, it's actually going to be inverse. We're going to have a live training session. All right. Today's episode features Mark Young Lai. He is the founder of Baseline Community, which focuses on training in different fields as far as coaching, speaking, intellect, thinking, and all other various forms, as far as increasing your power to do your best and whatever job on a daily basis. Mark, we're so happy and thankful to have you. How are you doing today?
Mo, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Welcome to the show. We're delighted to have you. Mark, we're actually really good friends for people who don't know, but I don't want to give too much away. To be honest, it's going to be a beautiful episode, unlike any other episode you've seen before during the ways of the show. And Mark, please explain, why did you decide to start Baseline Community?
I was really inspired by my parents, frankly, who came from very humble beginnings in a third world country, and they worked, their whole lives to give me the best shot at life, and they showed me what was possible, and that's what I work to inspire people to know. And frankly, not just to what's possible, it's more about what seems impossible. So that's really what this is about creating levels of change that most people want, but they think are impossible.
Beautiful answer. Next thing, I want you to inform the audience what's going to happen. So obviously you do this all the time at Baseline Community, but what is your plan for today's episode with me and Osama as far as this live training session? So explain that, how it works.
Yeah, so I'll start with a story, Mo. We had a conversation where you told me a beautiful story, and correct me if I get any of the details wrong, but your parents moved from Ghana, and they brought yourself and your brothers over to Canada.
No, they brought my older brother. I was born. Me and my three younger brothers were born in Scarborough. But continue.
You guys were born in Scarborough, Ontario, right?
Yeah, only my older brother was born in Ghana.
Okay, and what you explained to me was that Scarborough, your mom saw that city or town didn't give you and your brothers the best shot at life. Is that right?
Yep, this is true.
So she moved yourself and your brothers to a town that wasn't so close really to Scarborough, to give you guys the best shot.
Yeah, it's true.
and what you explained to me was that allowed you the space to think differently and to create differently, to be creative and to create things that you may not have created had you lived there.
Yes, correct. Yeah, my mom making that decision, just being so visionary, she just knew, like, with four young Black boys, obviously in an urban area known for crime, violence, and drug ridden on a daily basis. She knew that if anything could happen bad, it most likely would happen to these four boys. But obviously, I know that they're capable, they're smart, in a good environment and setting, they'll thrive. And they say that only God picks people that he knows that's able to be the vessel. And I guess my mom was that vessel. And as of today, now I realize, like I told you that story, and I'm super thankful, like you are. And I know Osama is for our parents just making that journey.
Excellent, right? So your mother was modeling and models for you what leadership is. And that's essentially what coaching is leadership. So what we aim to do is to create the space for leaders to, and what I aim to do is to create the space for leaders to think differently. Because one of the top skills, most important skills for leaders to have is creativity and the ability to think differently. And this leadership coaching is the art of bringing out and bringing forth the greatness in others. So that's what we're going to do here today. And it takes courage. It took courage for your mother to do that, and it takes courage for you guys to show up the way that you're showing up in Osama. So I'm excited. I'm really, really looking forward to this. I hope you are.
I'm super excited. Osama, are you excited?
Always, broski. Always.
So yeah, so Mark, whenever you're ready, by all means, you can start. And obviously, we are disciples at best.
Awesome. So, I want to make on that note, that's perfect, because I want to make a note here that to set context for today, because Osama, I understand you just got your second shot, right? So
yeah,
you may not be feeling at your best, to say the least, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you show up. You show up here.
Yeah, I believe the most important is you have to show up when you don't want to do it the most. Because I feel like, for example, I've always kind of got taught as a young kid, because I was hearing your conversation with Mo, is that the most important, I guess, advice I've ever gotten is like, it doesn't matter how happy you are and what you do things successfully. It matters when you're at your lowest point and you're still able to do the same thing you're currently doing when you are happy, because that's what really matters the most. Because when you're sad, when you're upset, like right now, my arm curls, right? But that's not an excuse for me to like stop. Like I'll even give you another example. I sprained my foot and playing basketball with this guy, and this guy was telling Mo most of the time, he's like, hey, he's like, have you tried playing basketball? And like, no. He's like, then how do you know if it's gonna if it feels better or not? He's like, play and go see it. So I feel like you have to have friends like yourself and even Mo to basically push you sometimes, because you need those friends who push you and get you out of your comfortability. So I would say I'm still excited, still willing to learn. I feel that's one thing that puts me aside from my peers. You said it's important to be unique.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what you're modeling as a leader is imperfect action.
Are you asking me?
Well, I'm just acknowledging that fact, right? And so we're gonna work with we had to deal with some speed bumps today, right? To get this podcast up, and yeah, and we've rolled with it, and we're gonna keep that going today. So I've had conversations with Mo. So Osama, I'll start with you, and what I'll ask you is, what will make this a powerful conversation for you today?
It's funny because if people know me, if you know me personally, you always know I always have a powerful conversation with people, because I don't like my time being wasted. However, I feel that from what every conversation, like just like whatever I heard from you already in the first 2 minutes. Obviously, it takes like 10 seconds to leave an impression. So I already know it's gonna be a powerful conversation, in my opinion. I don't get myself into topics or get myself into conversation I don't want to do. The fact that I'm doing this is because I know it's gonna be powerful.
Nice, nice. So I get that you understand. You have a sense of urgency, Osama. So I'll a sense of urgency that few people have, right? That few people understand, right? That requires a level of awareness that few people are willing to cultivate. So I'm gonna ask you again, what will make this a powerful conversation for you today?
Getting the best out of all of us. I think. Hold on. The conversation. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Give me 1 second, guys. My Wi-Fi's acting.
No
To answer
problem.
your question, about what makes this powerful conversation, I feel. Oh my goodness.
Don't worry, I have the timestamp, so don't worry, I'm marking the time. Continue.
Sounds good. Okay, so I feel honestly like there's no actual answer, in my opinion, as what to make a powerful conversation. Like, for example, there's a lot of things. I have to see how the conversation goes, right? Like, for example, multiple times where me and Mo have recorded, and we're like, this is stupid, or this is not going on. Actually, an episode's supposed to come out tomorrow, and it was all over the place. But powerful conversations happen spontaneously. I think they're not forced. They're obviously, you share common values, you learn from each other, and you're listening, not hearing. Like, you're listening to understand someone's point of view, and you're thinking of like why he comes from that perspective, as opposed to just hearing someone because you're thinking of a response. I feel that, my sense, is powerful because you have three unique individuals who obviously have all different unique pasts, individually and from family background. And I feel that's how it's powerful. Like, you understanding each other and saying, how can we make it, as you said about your company and your brand, you want to make powerful and greatness for individuals. And I feel that in itself is powerful. I feel like learning from yourself, you learning from us. I feel that's a powerful conversation already, in my opinion. Not sure that answered your question.
What do you, I'm going to ask you then, what do you said you learning from us, me learning from both of you. So wisdom is is important to you.
Yeah, wisdom, because here's how I look at it, right? A lot of, just going back to what I said earlier, a lot of people just want to hear for the sake of hearing. Like, for example, we can talk about the, like, I don't know, basketball, and you're like, oh, Michael Jordan over LeBron, and I'm just like, if I'm not genuinely taking in your information, I don't think I'm even listening to the wisdom that you have, to the information that you have. I just have something already in my head. That's why I kind of say it's important to listen. There's a lot of wisdom that goes into it. There's a lot of I guess the biggest thing is communication too. Like, there's certain people who are able to captivate an audience, even when it's telling a joke, even when it's having a certain conversations. I know amongst my friends, there's certain people, all due respect to you guys, some of you don't captivate my attention within 10 seconds. I just get bored easily. I'm just like, if you're not able to captivate my attention, that's already not a powerful conversation. Then I have to start using words like LOL or just like ha ha ha. I just want to get out of it. But the fact that I'm having a conversation with you, we're going back and forth, and you're asking me questions, I'm answering them. To my sense, that's a powerful conversation. And also, by the end of this, I can guarantee you that our fans will also like this, because there's some people who are listening right now when this episode drops on Wednesday, and they're gonna be like, "Wow." So Mark kept asking Osama these questions to get the best out of him, and he kept giving those answers to see where he's coming from. So I feel there's a lot of different ways of it being a powerful conversation. And yeah, one of them is wisdom.
Okay. So that's what this is what I do, right? As you understand, that we speak we speak a similar language in the sense that I do deep coaching, and wisdom comes from depth, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So you said something about hearing for the sake of hearing, and a lot of that happens. It is very it is very common today.
Of course.
Versus listening for there's a distinction called listening for information versus listening for insight.
Yes.
So what we're doing here today is, in order for me to help a leader, to help you, to help Mo see things differently, where I'm going to ask you to listen for insight. And Mo, while you listen, right? You were on the hot seat before.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to give Osama a bit of a break here. You were on the hot seat before, Mo. So while I talk to Osama, what I want you to do is to think of what will make this a powerful conversation for you today. Okay. And what's very, and like I said, we're not listening for agreement. We're not listening for information. We're listening for insight. And you may be starting to get the idea that this is, you're listening from a different place. Right? So Osama, what I'm going to ask you is what's one of the best, actually, let's put it this way. Who is one of your greatest teachers? Who would you say?
My greatest teachers? Who is one of my greatest teachers? Tough question. Never been asked that before, to be honest with you. Jeez, guys. This guy put me on the spot.
That's a really good question. Only on the way is to get a question like that. That's a really good question.
I'm not going to lie. Episode 72, never have I ever been asked that question, or even outside of the podcast. I feel, I don't want to sound egotistical when I say this, but I do want to say myself. So my past self and my future self, and I'll explain why. My past self is because I look back and I'm like, where was immature Osama back then, right? Because I've learned to be the individual I am at 26. 10 years from now is what I aspire to be. However, it's almost like a chase. Like I don't want to, because by the time I'm 36, I'm probably chasing someone else. It's almost the chase of being that end goal. I'm always chasing I guess, a better version of me. But if I had to say someone who is not me, a great teacher, I'm going to say Mo. I've said it multiple times before. The reason why I say Mo is because when I first reconciled, for people who don't know, again, if you're listening, I've obviously known Mo for 20 years. And it's not the years of friendship that keep your friendship amazing. It's obviously the value that you hold within it. When I reconciled with Mo,
I'm gonna slow you down a bit, Osama.
Sure.
I like that. You know, you see, when we're in having regular conversations, it's hard to. I shouldn't say it's hard. It's common to be quote unquote humble, but here I don't need you to be. I don't need you to be humble. You can put humility aside in the sense that you said that you're your greatest teacher. So Why
I
is that?
believe I am my greatest teacher because I feel I just learned from my mistakes. Like I'm not gonna go in depth of what I did, obviously. However, I just do believe at 20 years old. And here's actually I'll share a personal story. When I was 21, just graduated school. Obviously, I want to go to school, but part of the story, when I was 21, I was like, yeah, by 26, I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that. And I'm 26 right now, didn't achieve those things. So the first lesson I kind of learned is like stop putting expiry dates on your life. So like say you want to get something, but you don't. And I look at those lessons from behind and I'm like, okay. A lot of people when it comes to their birthday, they say, okay, cool. What I want to do by next year. I don't really care about next year. It's actually on a video. One of the videos that's up on YouTube with me, Mo. And I remember I said to him, he asked because I turned 25. He's like, yo, so what do you want for 26? And I told him, listen, bro, I kind of look at my life from like 10 years because life is so short. And I feel like I just learned from my mistakes. There's a beautiful quote that I live by. And it's like, if you're living in the past, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you are living in the future. And if you're at peace, you're living in the present. So I am my greatest teacher. I feel like if you're not able to learn from yourself, there's generally a huge problem because a lot of people you see, close friends of yours, probably Mark, more close friends of ours who go through similar problems, they come to you for advice, yet they haven't self-reflected with themselves. And the biggest thing I said to you during Corona, which kind of helped me become a better, I guess, individual, was just to self-reflect. I'm like, where do I see myself? Where do I see our brand going? Where do I see this going? I can thankfully, because of these conversations with myself and Umo, and obviously right now, kind of get some clarity with Mark. It kind of makes sense why we've gotten all this acceleration forward. It kind of makes sense why we're getting bigger guests here is because I have taught myself a lot of things that it's almost like that. So I'm gonna go on a rant. Remember that game that we played, ask a stranger a question,
Yeah.
and one of the questions was, this is gonna relate to one of the questions was, what was the hardest thing for you to unlearn?
Hmm.
Right. The hardest thing for me to unlearn was to be hard on myself. He just said, also, I'm really humble. So sometimes there's no need to be humble. Like if you're going to like hit up a client, they have to know why you're the guy they got to go to. So a lot of those things I'm actually still learning to get to myself to where I want to be.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Waste family, Mark put me on the spot. No guest ever did that. So to any other guest that's coming on, y'all better bring your A game, bro. Yo, it's a fact.
No,
It's a fact.
I'm enjoying it. I love how Mark says like mine Simons. I'm still at work,
It's
so
a hey man, it's a fact. Mo, you know it too.
beautiful experience right now.
Next question, I'm ready. Let's go.
What's your Osama? What's your vision? What's your vision for the next 10 years?
I've always said my vision.
Of your
Sorry.
life.
Yeah, so like just speaking personally, I feel like my vision in the past were always like materialistic in the past. But my vision now, and I also said I want to like grow up businesses and do whatever, but I feel my vision now is to give back. Because I feel with the platform that I have, actually the platform that me and Bo have now, the way it's going, my vision 10 years is to build a community under me. I feel like I have the responsibility now at 26 years old as I'm growing. And I do want to help elevate people because I feel like kind of hearing the stories both talking about how your families came from different backgrounds and how kind of made you guys you are today. I feel my vision 10 years from now is to make ways an enterprise where people who are feeling down, who are feeling upset, can actually hit us up and say, "Hey, I want to reevaluate. I want to like reevaluate my life." Because I feel money, cars, girls, all that kind of stuff is just like materialistic and it comes and goes. But I feel like my vision is to create a better community because we have a lot of leaders out there who are just saying stuff, and I'm like, I don't believe you. Like talking to you, like I've only met you twice for like a short period of time. This is the first time we're actually having an intellectual, powerful conversation. And I can honestly say, you asking me these questions right now also might change. Like I can tell you my vision right now is to create change and build a better community. But at 28, I could have a different answer because I feel like going back to the last question you just asked me about Actually, what was the last question you just asked me? Hold on, I'm going crazy. About who's my best teacher? Yes, I told you about learning. I said learning is a big thing, and I feel growing is a big thing. So by the time I'm 28 years old, there could be a different Osama you're talking to. Like the conversation we have now might not be irrelevant, but it might just speak for the time being now. But right now, my vision to answer your question directly is to create change and just allow people to flourish. Because I feel one thing that you just said earlier that captivated with me is I like to help people see them flourish. Because a lot of people who I know I guess outside of my circle who get jealous or get envious when you get certain opportunities, and I feel that's just toxic and that should not be happening. So yeah, that's my answer.
Nice. So let's look at your future self
Mm-hmm.
10 years from now.
Yes, sir.
And let's say, let's say your future self 10 years from now is having a conversation with you
Right now,
right now.
or like,
Yeah.
what would I say if my future self was having a conversation with me?
What is your future self telling you as far as
Honestly,
what's one piece of wisdom your future self?
again, I've never been asked this question, but I think beautiful question, by the way. I feel a lot of people don't really ask themselves that because when you talk about vision, when you talk about where you see yourself in 10 years, no one really asks themselves, what would you tell you always talk about what would you tell yourself when you're 18, but no one tells themselves, what would your older version of you tell you? Honestly, it's going to sound cliche, but it's just going to be like people's opinions, which I already believe people's opinions are irrelevant if you obviously fall into them. Because I'm in the believer that you can do whatever you want if you put your mind to it. Nothing is really impossible. And I feel my future self is going to be 10 times hardworking, 10 times more established, 10 times more, I guess, more prepared because he's already there waiting for me to catch up to him. And if he were to tell me, he would just like keep going. As I said, for obviously if people are listening, I have my arm vaccine, but I'm just don't make excuses. And I feel like for the longest time I used to make excuses, okay, oh, my arms hurt, or like, oh, I can't go to the gym because I'm tired. But I think he would tell me what you're doing right now is cool, but you have to multiply by 100. Like even when there's sometimes I'll even share this. Sometimes, which I'll be exposing myself, but sometimes I don't feel like editing. I don't feel like doing a podcast, and I feel like I guess that's fair because obviously your mental health is important. But I feel he'd probably tell me you have to go until failure, until your body just collapses, because that's when you probably got the best out of yourself. So I think he would tell me to keep going on 100%, 120%, and again, because he wants to see me, and I want to see him. I don't want to see a half him. I don't want to see a 25% him. I want to see the full 100% elevated Osama Hantash, who I aspire to be 10 years from now. Like silence.
Does that land for you? That piece of wisdom?
Sorry?
Does that piece of wisdom land for you?
Blend?
Land, like do you
Sorry, say it again.
feel so let's imagine it's just you and I talking here, right?
Yes.
Maybe Mo in the room.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what was the question you cut off at my end?
Does that piece of wisdom feel like what you needed in this moment?
It's kind of funny that you said that you asked that because when Mo called me today, he was like, "How do you feel?" I'm like, "I'm happy," but I'm kind of confused. I think I do. I think having these conversations, genuinely speaking, I'm not saying because you were here, Not saying because Mo was here, and I'm saying because you asked this question. But it's obviously giving me some clarity of where I want to be. Because sometimes we get distracted by BS, and our vision and end goal is kind of blurry. That's what it was for legit today since I woke up. And yeah, I think just having this conversation with you kind of reevaluated for me that just the things that I was thinking about earlier today don't really matter. And yeah, so that's the honest truth. Like I'm not even saying that because you asked that question, but like when you asked me just earlier, I was confused about certain stuff. And then yeah, just like thinking about your question right now, I've legit been staring outside in the distance about my 10 years from now, like where I want to be. And yeah, so it kind of hit home.
Nice. Because that's not for, yes, you might have listeners who might really resonate with that, but that's for you.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And honestly, like the fact that you asking those questions, because here's I just want to share one thing before like we move on to like whatever step that you want to move on to. However, I do believe, as I said, learning is a good example. And I feel like what makes a good leader is listening and willing to learn. Like two L's, like listening and learning. Because like a lot of leaders, if you think you already know, you're not going to a lot of leaders till this day. Like I consider myself a leader at work and like what I do with what I do with here, but it doesn't emasculate me for a single second. Just listening to you and learning, picking your brain and stuff, because that ideally makes a better leader. I feel if and for all the listeners that are listening, obviously just like trying to like pick our brains, we're picking each other's brains. But if you could take anything from what Mark's asked me, what he's going to ask Mo is that ask yourselves those same questions to yourself and see where you think, because sometimes you don't really know. You could be really confused. You could be really like heartfelt, sad. But I swear to God, you ask most questions, and I feel like my arm hurts less now. Sorry. And yeah, it just feels like it's gonna be like another powerful conversation. So thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate your courage and your honesty,
100%.
and just to echo what you said earlier, right? Is being in the present moment. So,
Yeah.
happy to hear that you have some peace from your.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Yeah, like it's much more peace now because I can even like I can hear your guys' opinions on this. Sometimes we as creators or as leaders, we do go hard on ourselves and things sometimes they don't go the wrong way. And having conversations like these, that's what when you ask me your first question, like what will make this conversation powerful? The spontaneous. Like no one can ever tell me you're gonna ask those questions. You ask them. You could have asked different questions, but you chose to ask these questions. You got the best out of me. I know just because you asked the question, what makes this powerful question, I think twice, if I'm not mistaken, because you want to get the best out of me. And I feel that's what makes you an amazing coach. That's what makes you an amazing leader, because you want to get other leaders to your level and even beyond. Who knows? So yeah, I respect that. And I feel like just having this conversation right now kind of made me much more aware of what I want to do. And yeah, so I respect that 100%.
Awesome, Osama. So what I'm going to do now is, how much time do we have? Do we have?
As much as you want, buddy. Whatever you feel. You're getting bored of us? Peace.
All right. So, Mo, if you're up for playing.
I'm right here.
Oh, what a cute smile, bro.
Oh man. Don't start, man.
So, Osama, what I'm gonna suggest you do is,
Yes,
well, again, essentially, all you're gonna do is you're gonna listen for insight. You're gonna listen a little bit differently, and we've just done some work. We've played with your thinking a little bit, and be open to receiving insight as Mo has that work with.
Absolutely. For sure. Let's do it.
All right, Mo.
Let's do this.
So I asked you earlier if what would make this a powerful conversation for you, and I know yeah. So let's start with that.
The funny thing is, obviously when you ask that, it's not like I have a general answer, but obviously I have an answer like I want to attack this in a certain way. But after witnessing what you went with Osama, because you asked me like, hey, when I ask you what's going to make a powerful conversation, from what I saw, what I witnessed, it's literally as if this conversation with Osama is a conversation that he has by himself and no one else is in the room. And even if someone's in the room, it's his future self or past self. But the fact that you are asking this question, it's a rare moment for me because I don't see him in this form. So seeing this and seeing Osama in such a state that I rarely see him in, what makes this a powerful conversation is the only continuation of that. It's just the rarity in this present moment and pretty much grasping and attaining as much as possible after I leave. So that's what makes this a powerful conversation today.
You said grasping and attaining as much as possible. And what I hear from that is that you're someone who aims to seize the moment, right? Seize the day. Is carpe diem, and carpe punctum is the Latin for seize the moment, right? So what I understand about you, Mo, is that and actually, I'll start with this, Mo. You really inspire me, and I say that because from when I first met you, you struck me as someone who not only who wants to give back, right? You really do want to give back, and Osama's shaking his head, right? And by the way, I'm gonna say that it's not my job to be right. I'm not attached to any outcome here. The insight is for you. So I know that you have you started building wells in Africa. Yeah, I happen to know that. I also happen to know that you do a lot of errands for people. I know you deliver food for is it your family or families, right? For
Yeah, multiple
relatives.
families. Yeah, relatives. Yeah.
Yeah. And in one of our most recent conversations, you communicated to me that you want to do some work with at-risk youth. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. It's funny, man. It's like life, you expect it to go one way, but it's another direction. So yeah, since I was a kid, I've been taught by my parents to give back. And you can say it, but if you don't show it, it doesn't mean anything. And with African parents or immigrant parents, they're going to show you one way or another. And to see my parents sacrifice upon sacrifice upon sacrifice, when they sacrifice so much and they tell you that religion that you believe in and that you learn from does the exact same thing, it all connects. So for me, if I feel as if I go against it, I'm being selfish. And when I attach to something so much, something so beautiful, I realize it's my purpose. And I as far as helping at-risk kids who are going through things, the only reason why I want to help is because I saw with my own eyes. I witnessed it with my own eyes. just from personal issues with my older brother, going through things that I wouldn't have expected. Someone that obviously, like I said before, my parents took a chance to move here. So this perfect environment, it didn't make any sense as far as the choices that he made. But everyone's their own person, right? And to saw what he went through had a huge effect on me. It wasn't traumatic. It was only it only made me stronger by choice. Because literally at this point, Mark, how it worked was he was gone. I didn't know where he was. And my parents were in a situation where they weren't able to provide. And my dad looked at me, sat me down, and he's like, hey, I know you didn't ask for this. No one asked for this, but it's God's work and it's God's blessing and wisdom. So either you complain, cry, or whatever. I'm not going to blame you for it because obviously you are who you are and you are only 15 years old. But I know who you are and I know what you're made out of. Not only my son, but the name and the characteristics you have, you'll see the beauty in it. So my dad's like, I need you to lead and to take us home. Seize the moment. And that was literally sacrificing every day. And only if someone knows this, a lot of people don't know this, is but the fact that like when I worked at McDonald's, people thought I loved to work there for fun, but I worked there because there was no other choice as far as helping out my family. So I'd worked 7 days a week, continuous hours, closing, opening. And a lot of people don't know, like we don't have a car. So I used to walk. This is my first time sharing this. I used to walk all the way to Nagao and Dundas. So I'd walk all the way to work and walked all the way back. There's snowy nights, rainy nights, anything, you can name it. And why did I walk? Why didn't I take a bus? At that time in Oakville, there wasn't that much bus routes. And remember back then, the bus used to stop at like 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock. And there was only one bus going on to Dundas. Not like now, there's different routes and stuff. So I had no choice but to walk. But at the same time, I knew my dad did the same thing and he walked more. And obviously, when you learn about the stories of the prophets and great people in history, they did more. But who they became as far as individuals, it's such a beautiful and such a sweet reward. So I knew, I was like, you know what? It might suck in the moment, but I can't tell myself that because I have to be strong. My mother was wondering where my brother is. And for my younger brothers who don't know how to deal with the situation. So if my dad is telling me, seize the moment, then I must seize the moment. And because of that, I've pretty much gotten the beauty out of such a situation. So when I know individuals, whether relatives or friends, are going through the exact same thing, I know how to communicate. I know how to effectively, with clarity, with insight at this moment, to show them the beauty and sweetness and what they're going through and whatever situation they're dealing with as far as their family, their environment. And I don't need to be given the opportunity. I just need to be in front of them. I'll show them the way. So that's the reason why I will be a counselor for kids, youth, risking their lives. But at the same time, it's not a risk. It's only a reward. They just gotta. There's someone that just has to tell them that. And I'm not saying who better than me, but if you put me in front of them, it's only gonna be the beauty as far as what I'm gonna tell them. So that's really it. That's the reason why I want to be at risk youth counselor.
What do you want to tell them? What will you tell them?
I'll tell them, be still. Simple. If I could have a first interaction, be still. Why? Because in such a state, all you want to do is move. You just want to move because as soon as you be still, you are constantly reminded of all the hardships and afflictions and the screams and the pain and the anger. And when you think, it only makes you go crazy. So that's why a lot of them resort to violence. You got to put in that work. So your friends or gang members, they go with you. They feel that pain with you, right? So they think that's love. Or maybe it's that drug, right? There's weed, coke, whatever. They think that's love. Or it could just be tormenting, just self-abuse to someone else or a relative or a parent. They think that's love. So I would tell them to be still, the last thing they want to do. But while being still, I will remind them the reason why they're being still and only the reward that's going to come from it with me being in front of them. Because it doesn't matter for me to tell them like, oh, I know how you feel. I was in the exact same situation. No, I'm literally going to transform myself into your world, because if I say it, you might not believe me, but within a few seconds, I'm going to be in your world and I'm going to lead you. That's it. And when they realize that and they see it, not only from my voice, but within my eyes and the way I am, they'll know that this is not a joke. This is someone who's actually here to help me, that cares about me. Because at the end of the day, none of this matters as far as trying to do things, as far as trying to help people, if they honestly do not feel the love from it. Because you could give someone $20,000 or $20, but if they don't feel the sincerity and the love from it, it's only paper at the end of the day and stuff, right? So that's the goal. That's the goal.
What I want to do is go back just a little bit to something that you said about, well, you want to tell them to be still, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it seems to be a theme today. Like I said, I don't know where this is going to go, but at some point our conversation intersects, right? Between what you want, between what Osama wants. And it's interesting that some people say peace is freedom from mind, right? And you essentially hit on that, right? That if you think that, let's put it this way, if you have to think all the time, you're gonna get tired. Your mind's gonna get tired, right? And we think we have to think, and we think we have to do all the time. Yet there's another level, and today I think that if for anyone listening, that would have been a little more obvious, right? Because there's space in this conversation that we don't usually have in everyday conversations, and the wisdom came from, it didn't necessarily come from the level of mind, right? And again, Mo, I happen to know that you, as a what you consider yourself a devout Muslim.
Yes. I try to be my best, I try my best. Only God knows.
Well, I mean, you're fasting. You're fasting. This is day 3, day 4.
Day three.
That says a lot. And I happen to know that you pray about 5 times.
Yep. Me, Osama, yeah, most Muslims, 5 times a day. We pray 5 times a day. You can continue.
So my audio is kind of.
Now you're good. Don't worry, I marked it.
Yeah, I mean, they as you said, be still. And you're with. Again, I can say this from be still is arguably, would you say, the source of it. Yeah.
One thing I would like to say in this moment of rarity, also what makes this conversation powerful. I never said this to Osama, but obviously, as Mark knows before, who do I go to for advice or to seek answers? The answer is, in the past, no one. Never went to anyone for advice or help. Why? Is because obviously, the what I want to learn and things that I do develop over time and just information I gather, I pretty much come to an understanding of what that situation is or how it completes me. So therefore, I'm at ease at most of the time. And obviously, when situations does arise, I know how to deal with it in accordance to that situation at hand. But sometimes it's out of your reach. We're humans. We're not superheroes. And even in those moments, I never turned to anyone. Obviously, when I first started meeting you, Mark, I did go to those situations, but eventually, obviously, did move. We're not in the same area. And it wasn't until Osama, me and him reconciled a few years later, that I didn't think that out of everyone I would turn to, I went to Osama. And especially at that time, because we just started talking again and we weren't friends. But there's a wisdom and beauty behind everything, because the day before that we started the podcast, the first meeting with Jaffer, a situation happened where a former person wanted to see me. And in that moment, I felt scared, which is rare. I felt alone, and I didn't feel empty, but I felt like it wasn't panicking, but it's like, I don't know what to do and I need help. And plus it's raining. The weather is raining so hard and something is telling me, call Osama. I just got an answer. I have to call Osama. But my pride and my ego is like, don't call him. We just started talking. We're only been friends for like 2 or 3 months at this point. Why do I call? But my heart was like, I have to call Osama. Like, he's the only person out of everyone, even though I have friends for 20 years as well, as close. But it's like, I have to call this guy. Like, for some weird reason, he's the one who gave me the answer. And when I called him, he did the one thing that he's destined to do, which is to lead. And in that moment, by leading, he comforted me, made me relax, made me become poised and detach from the situation and attach to my purpose and to see through the situation with clarity. And from that day, I guess my heart just knew, if anything happens, I must run to this person, not walk or crawl, run to Osama. And the next day, that was the first day that me, him, and Jaffer decided to start this podcast. And it's amazing how both of those events occurred within 24 hours. So, yeah, I've never said that to him. And obviously, it's something I would say to him alone or to you in a normal session. But I think for the listeners, once again, it's rare. And that's what's making the power station powerful, you know? And that's something I had to let him know. I had to let him know.
Can I just add something quickly?
Please.
I've actually never heard this guy ever say what you just said. And I want to say it because I obviously consider you a brother. And I've always told people, like, you're my broski. Like, I'm so protective of this guy. I feel like if someone has to roast him, someone has to disrespect him, I come in like Superman. I'm like actually similar situation where someone was saying, oh, Mo gives bad advice. I'm like, maybe because you don't take his advice, he just stopped giving you advice. And I was like, Mo was always, I told this person was like, oh, Mo's never there for me. And I'm like, and I kind of got fed up because I barely even know this person. And at this point, just like in a couple of weeks, we've been talking. I'm like, Mo, from what I've understood, Mo has been there for you for so many years. And I'm like, I'm not gonna let you here disrespect my own brother, who I consider, who I've known for so long, and who we went through with like thick and thin. Like a lot of people don't even know what me and this guy went through. But it's obviously the things that we went through. And to hear him say about that certain situation, which I do remember him calling, and I remember even myself, I'm like, Mo, why is this guy calling me like 12 o'clock in the morning, mind you? We just came back from like chilling. I'm like, did he forget my wallet, his wallet in my car? And he obviously said what he had to say. I obviously gave him the advice that he needed to hear. And then the next day, it's funny is that after we dropped off Jaffer, he spoke about that day, and I feel like I've always said that Mo because he's made me a better individual. He's like a great business partner. He's also a great competitor. Like he pushes you because he doesn't like anything that's 10%. Like if it's not 100%, he's not gonna like. He's just gonna walk away and say, "I'll see you next time when you're ready to work." And that's what I respect about him. I feel like if you are in a business with someone, if you do have a friend, you want to have a friendship like Mo, someone who's gonna push you, get the best out of you. And yeah, I feel like I've always said that. I feel like people have to learn that you got to look within your friendships and see who you do give advice to. Because one time, I want to go back to similar advice. I was episode 11. Remember, Muhammad was like, if you can't go to people for advice, if they can't come give you advice. That's sad. That means you don't have a close bond with certain people in your life. So yeah, I would say that this guy's my brother. So whoever does mess with Mo is messing with me 100%. There's a problem. Someone says something to Mo, you're 100% going to deal with me.
Likewise, likewise. And plus, the thing is, when you mentioned like the initiatives I'm doing, the wells in Africa, had that dream since the beginning. I didn't know until I started having these talks with Osama. He had the exact same dream as well. So when I started doing the wells, he is the person that's working right beside me. So when you see what we've been doing, it's also me and him, and it's something that we start together. And to see
Yeah.
how much he's helped and his family has helped has only made this dream come true. And
But I have to.
it wouldn't be where it is if it's not with Osama. So obviously, like
And let's
it's
be
our
humble.
only
I also have to thank you because you gave me the opportunity to be a part of this amazing journey. So had it not been for you, bro, because I've always said this to you, by the way, not everybody could build a well or go to well welding. You came to me, asked me, yo, doing this well thing. I would love for you to be a part of it. And I think it took a good week to come back to you. And then something in my heart said, yo, this is like good. It's amazing. Do it. And I loved working with you. This opportunity, I obviously want to grow. Like for people who don't know me more, obviously opening a foundation for that certain point of obviously building walls in like third world countries and like giving them a better life. And I feel like, yeah, I feel like you definitely do like just hearing your answers that Mark, this all the course that Mark asked you and like things, there's certain things I've never knew about you. So obviously our conversations do get deep, but they don't get deep to the point where you ask those questions. Because sometimes maybe it's due to fear, like you don't want to offend the person. Sometimes it's like, am I gonna get that honest answer? And I feel like funny enough on the podcast, you're just gonna get real stuff. So everybody that's listening, this is all a genuine talk because of Mark, this amazing gentleman right here. So yeah. And funny, doesn't matter how long you've known someone, you can still learn something every single day. Keyword learn.
And I just want to, I appreciate it so much. I just want to catch something that I live around a distinction where, most people live a reported on life, where they report on events that happen to them. And I want us to be careful that we don't think that this happened to us because we created it.
No, absolutely.
People understand that life is created from the inside out.
No, for sure, absolutely. I think and also like going back to that first question you asked about what makes a powerful conversation. I'd never expect this conversation to be honest. I didn't even know where it was going, but this did not. Excuse me. This did not come like anywhere near my expectations, in my opinion. I just did not expect it to like for you to go that deep and for you to get again the certain answers you said. I've known you for so long, never heard you once say these answers. So some of it I've obviously knew, but that one incident with that event, never knew. And that was almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, awesome. So I'm gonna ask you, Mo, what's one insight that you had from today? I know there were a lot, but if you had to pick one.
last session that we did, for me, the one insight I took away was the balloon effect, which is pretty much releasing the stress that's inside your body to release as much balloons as possible. And that's the one thing I took away. And that's one practice I've been doing every single day and slowly getting better. With this in today, my heart feels like obviously a heartbeat's a heartbeat, but today my heart feels worked out. It feels worked out. It feels as if I've pretty much opened myself in ways I didn't expect to. And my heart feels worked out. It feels replenished. And it's pretty much now the healing process from it. And I want to give more of that feeling. So it's pretty much allowing my heart to open up more and to really, really, really just grasp, like I said in the beginning, just attain that feeling that comes from conversations you do not expect, but to take it further as far as my connection to nature, connection to books, all sights and sounds, and just dreams and visions, really, to really allow my heart to feel so, so exerted, but in good fashion. So I think that's the biggest insight is really just to allow my heart to really shine and to let the brain be at ease and to let the heart lead forward. So that's when you meet individuals, as we all might know, you might say they have a big heart. And they do have a big heart. They know how to make their heart lead at all times. And for me, I think for me right now, what I've known, what I'm good at is to really let my intellect and just my wisdom take lead. But I think what I want to do is just to pull out my heart more and see how I'm able to use that to become a better person. So if I'm not able to make my heart lead, at least start the practice of allowing my heart to be more comfortable in this space. It's called life. So that's the biggest insight I took from today.
Very powerful. Very powerful. What about you, Osama? What's one insight that
Just one.
exactly?
I think this is the first time that I guess I can only speak for Mo, but I guess all of us as well. The first time where we actually opened our hearts, like really spoke. Mark asking the questions, like as opposed to us asking each other questions, which sometimes you can just do whatever. I feel like the ability to free speak and not obviously not be judged because, and I'm not saying we ever judge each other, but I'm saying this time it felt as if you're gonna find out something about the other person which you don't even know. And even if you did have a feeling, it's like you found to the full extent. And yeah, I feel like the ability to free speak, you opened your heart and you learned more about your brother and family, which is the most important. So I feel like yeah, just openly free speaking and like listening and caring for what people have to say. For example, because I obviously always knew you want to be a at youth risk counselor, right? I always knew like at any capacity you want to go give back to that community specifically. We've had those conversations. I feel that I'm glad you said that because I feel like it kind of opened just more doors for me, and I feel like just it got me thinking more, got me much more calm. It got me thinking like, yo, we all go through problems and we all go through a lot of stuff. And I feel like the biggest thing is just to keep going and like have your mind healthy. Going back to that like balloon effect that you were mentioning, kind of like that mindfulness and essentially you just kind of feel calm and that like obviously when things go wrong, which are inevitable, but be calm and be mindful that things will always get better.
Powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
Well,
welcome.
thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Again, I want to thank you both for your courage today.
I actually want this to happen again, but what I want to do is start inviting people, fans, on here where Mark can ask dumb questions and they get that. I do want like whenever you're free, we can actually do that where we can ask people to come down. You ask them questions. Me and Muhammad will just obviously be listening. You take over the whole thing and you ask. I feel like a lot of people do need this because I feel like you might be skeptical to be like, oh, like he's gonna make fun of me, he's gonna do this, but no, it actually is there to help you. Like sometimes subliminally, you don't know you're actually going through something, and then like you obviously ask those amazing, beautiful questions, and again, it gets much more clear-headed. I feel like I do want to do it with fans, people who just want to come in and like be part of this process. I feel like, and I feel they really should.
That sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
And what like that's the thing. It's like when Mark told me like I want you to listen, and when it's your time, I'm gonna ask you what makes this powerful, like what makes this conversation powerful. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen, and then it's like you instantly ask Osama, who is your greatest teacher? And I'm like, man, like it's as if your ego wants to. It's like I want to answer, I want to answer, because it's such a beautiful question, right? But it's like
Mm-hmm.
I can't defeat the purpose. My job is to listen. So when it's time, I'll be spoken to. And
Well,
plus, the
yeah,
beauty in this. So it's like it's
yes,
amazing how
for
the
sure.
dynamic works. Like just with the humans fighting our desires. Like certain questions you're asking Osama. Like when he was on the hot seat, I'm like, man, I want to jump into this because I just know like how much this question just makes me just explore and how much I want to just give up. But that's not the purpose. That's not what the
Yeah,
purpose of this is. So it's as if like forget your desires. Something's happening. You have a mission, so stick to it. And
hey man,
there's layers. It's layers to this moment.
I
It's a
think it goes
layers to this
back to
moment.
being patient, which obviously you have mastered.
I
And
haven't,
yeah,
I
so
haven't, I haven't mastered patience.
relax, you have mastered it, bro. I
Mark.
can name 1,000 situations. Look, you and Mark are like, from what I've seen, kind of like you guys are really similar. I've seen you with one of our friends, bro. You're really patient with them. But I just do want
Mark,
to say, all
actually, let me
jokes.
ask this. I know what else was to ask, but I have a question for Mark. And Mark, between myself and you, who do you think has more patience?
Patience is not a competition, brother.
It's not a competition. It's not a competition. It's not a competition.
Let me say one thing.
But if you're able to
Uh,
measure it out, who do you think has more patience? And I'm not talking about patience just like, oh, she's holding in something or something happens. Just patience in its rawest form. Who do you think has more patience between myself and you? I'd love to hear your answer.
I'm gonna stick with my answer. Patience is unique to each individual. You you have as much patience as you need, and but you really I will say this, right, you really exemplify, you do, patience, and you know that you do it, you aim to do it consciously, and that's frankly, that's what sets the best athletes, for example, or in the field, apart from the rest, is that they show up with whatever qualities they want to show up with more intentionally than other athletes. So in your field, or on the field of life, patience is one of your best qualities, and the more that you aim to show up with that, it it can't be said enough, the importance of patience. So
Thank you. Thank you. Beautiful answer. And Osama, before Mark came on the show, our last session, he told me, he's like, hey, because the thing is, obviously, it's like he's gonna come on. We're gonna have this conversation,
uh-huh.
and he's like, when I come on, I'm not coming on your podcast so you could be like this perfect version of yourself. I'm not coming on for that. Like, this is not where your audience gets to see you and your usual status in the usual way. Like, no, this is gonna be what it is. And
Uh-huh.
obviously, like we said, like the courage, like the I'm willing for that because obviously, like we could have, if we wanted to, hold ourselves back and have this conversation. And Mark would know whether this is authentic or not, if this is raw or not, if we're actually
I
achieving what we're actually supposed to, not for the
I
audience
think,
or each
yeah.
other, but for ourselves. Because obviously,
I
this
think,
is
yeah, exactly. I'm just
between
gonna
us
say,
and him. So
well, even you said yourself, like you would know yourself that you're not being authentic. And usually, obviously, this is like episode 72. So through episodes, from funny, from being, I guess, truthful, from giving advice, or from whatever it may be, this is the first time they got to like learn more stuff about us, because a lot of the time it's just like talking about whatever the topic is at hand. So this is the first time that these our fans around the world, 25 countries plus, get to see Mark ask us questions and pick our brains at certain answers, like why we're thinking a certain way, and then boom. Because look, bro, we never done this once. We never, even in reality, like no one's ever like, unless it's you, but from looking from your outside, from look at your friends excluding myself, and look at my friends excluding yourself. No one's really ever pushed you to that limit, to where it's like, nah, it's like there's something about you. Because a lot of the times people are scared to go to that, like, that's why with like guys before the podcast, Mark asked me, like, like from here, like hashtag go. I'm like, just be authentic. At the end of the day, I want the people to see the authenticity of the podcast. I don't care if people have to go hard, pick my brain of how I think a certain way. That's just how life is. And yeah, and I'm kind of glad we did this episode. I feel that the guests around the world are gonna love it. They see, wow, this is different. I want to know what it's about. And yeah, so guys, check it out. Make sure you obviously uh, comment and like share them if you want to be. I am planning on doing a similar event for you guys where you can come down and let Mark ask you questions, be a part of our brand. We never really done this. We never really allowed fans to come on here because it's always like me and Mo. But yeah, dude, I had an amazing experience. Obviously, nonetheless, like to say now, if you ask me the question again, powerful. Obviously, I have a better answer because obviously the podcast is done. But when you asked me the first question, it was hard. You put me through so much stuff. I'm like, damn, bro, like never been put on a spot like that before. Actually, once, twice. The last time you did that in the power episode, but yeah.
Any final words, Mark?
Yeah, again, it really does take courage. It's not only, some people say it's like a deep tissue massage, and your fans might notice that you guys are maybe a little more relaxed than usual, right? But sometimes it's even like surgery, right? So
absolutely.
It felt like his heart was worked out, right? So
sure.
sometimes it may even be more painful than that, but you get what you get on the other side.
Yes, sir.
Some people want peace, some people want freedom, some people want happiness, but and Mo talked about transformation. So
yeah,
you have something to say here, Osama.
No, we're just gonna say I'm like this is like off topic, but not even off topic. I just want to say to everybody who's watching this, if there's one thing you can obviously take from this episode, specifically this episode, is it's important to self-reflect with yourself. And you said something about me, Mo, where you said like I probably asked those questions to myself, the same question that Mark asked, which is kind of I guess different because you're asking yourself those questions as opposed to another individual who asked me those questions. So I feel for you guys, ask yourselves those same questions that Mark asked you. I feel like they're a great gateway. By all means, like also hit him up, follow him. Amazing coach. Like we've only spoken for like 77 minutes so far, and obviously we could do it for longer. And yeah, so I want all you guys to hit him up, text him, message him. You can learn so much from this guy. Don't feel emasculated out. Like put your egos aside for like a good amount of time and like go learn because like there's a lot of stuff you could learn from here. A lot of it like we never really get. We haven't had a specialized guest in so long, right, Mo? So
Yeah.
this is the first time in a while where you also have someone who's talking about his craft, who's like willing to help, and you don't meet a lot of those people. So you said yourself, Mo, where you see at-risk counselors who are not doing their job to help their at-risk youth, and I just said there's a lot of leaders who aren't good at leading, right? And they're trying to prioritize people's time and use it for them. So it's really important that people see that and they hear our information, and most importantly, the questions that Mark asked, because he asked those questions for you and myself, and we all gave different answers. So that's all I want to say from my end.
Mark, tell the people where they can follow you, how they can contact you if they want to reach out.
So intentionally, I've kept things pretty low tech. Just worked with a few clients, but now we're rolling out a Facebook community. My team is rolling out a Facebook community, so you can find us at Baseline Community, and you can also reach my team or myself at Baseline Pro. BaselinePro.me is going to be our website, so we can you'll find any links to contact us right on there.
Great.
And we'll make sure to attach a link to your Baseline as far as the community on Facebook. So obviously it'll be easier for people to find out.
Yeah, either that or a screenshot. And again, we want to thank you, everybody. Make sure you go to his page, contact him. I don't know what you're doing right now. If you haven't left this podcast by now, don't contact him. I have an issue with you. No, just playing. I wanted to, yeah, Mo, thank you for being an amazing co-host. Mark, an amazing guest. By far, again, one of my favorite episodes. I feel like every guest talks about, by this one, I feel like it's different because he interviewed us, which never happened before.
Never
That's the
happened.
first. Yeah, never
And
happened. So,
if it was to happen, if there was a first, who other than Mark?
hey, man, that's
Who
very
other?
true. To someone to
Who
get the
other?
best out of us, you have to be a leader yourself, and
If there's a
we did that.
first, who other than Mark? It's that
Exactly.
simple.
Exactly.
It's nothing. It only makes sense. So, Mark,
Is there?
thank you so much. For anyone that's still listening, make sure to follow us at Ways 2.0 on Instagram. Follow Osama at Kusa300. Myself at Muhammad.global. If you want to listen to us, we're available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, Radio Public, Anchor, and other various platforms. Every episode is released on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Thank you so much for the love, support, and feedback. We only make sure to do this as we go along with better guests, better content, and insightful conversations. And if you have any questions for us, how to contact Mark, the link will be down below. And obviously, contact Mark if you feel as if today's session was insightful, helpful, and if you feel as if there's no one else you can go to. Mark is the one person that's always going to be there for you no matter what. So, once again, thank you so much, Mark. The first person to interview us and the first person to make the heart speak when it's been silent for so long. So, I want to thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you again for your. Some people call it vulnerability, but I prefer to call it courage. It's a rare quality of great leaders. So that really says a lot about you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.